So, hello guys, today we are going to be talking about Hopf fibration. To be honest, I think the explanations of Hopf fibration online are kinda ass, so we are gonna be looking at this a bit differently. Let's start by describing a problem. Here I have some fibers and a sphere. So, our goal is to put these fibers around the sphere such that it will cover the whole sphere. There are some rules. For example, we cannot just put them like however we want. We have to put them kind of like in a straight line. And you can probably see where the problem is. We put one fiber around the sphere, and then when we try to put another fiber around the sphere, oops, it doesn't work. In 2D, where we have a circle, of course we just have one fiber. We put it around the circle and we're done. But we cannot do this in 3D. It's impossible in 3D. The fun thing is, this is possible in 4D. Another thing you might imagine is like we can just like put another string on top of it and on top of it, but then their length has to decrease. They cannot be the same length, so it doesn't work. We're gonna look at this problem a bit differently. So, look at this. We have points rotating around on a sphere. And we can imagine that each of these is creating like a fiber that it traces out, and that if we had like infinitely many of these points, they would cover the whole sphere in like the fibers. We can also supersede the fibers. So we can imagine like, okay, we'll have points on a half circle, and then each of these points is gonna correspond to one of the infinitely many fibers we'll use to cover the sphere. Before we move on to the more interesting parts of the video, we're gonna need to explain some things. So let's go. First of all, right here on the right side, you can see a flat circle that corresponds to what's happening on the sphere on the left. What is actually happening is that the axis of up and down we kind of squish together, so now it's two-dimensional, and we can still see the points moving around there. And we can do this in 4D. We can do this in 4D where we just like move points, and now when we move to 4D we have another one, W. And here on the flattened sphere we can see like we have the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and then down there in the middle, the flattened one, that's the w-axis. The inside of the sphere actually corresponds like to two hemispheres of the hypersphere. Here in 3D you can see like the flattened circle, the inside of the flattened circle. You could be either of the up hemisphere or down hemisphere of the actual 3D sphere. This is indicated by the color where like the up is brighter green and down is darker green. Similarly in 4D we have like brighter yellow and darker yellow. Rotations. We're gonna simplify things a bit here, but let's get into basics of rotations. Okay, so after simplifying things, we can kind of think of rotations as just exchange of value between two coordinates. Here we have in 3D we have the x, y, and z, and we can like maybe exchange the x value to the y value, then exchange the y value to the z value, and so on and so forth, and it just rotates all in circle. In 4D, it's the same thing, but now we have four coordinates. So you can exchange value between two coordinates, x, y, y, z, z, w, whatever you want. The main thing is that now we have four coordinates, and we can think of rotation as exchange between two coordinates. We can do like two exchanges at once. This isn't really possible in 3D, and it only becomes possible in 4D, and then like in 6 dimensions you have 3 exchanges at once because you have 6 coordinates, and so on and so on. And this thing in 4D is called a double rotation. It's going to be very important, so we're going to get there. Now I have a different half a circle. We're gonna use it to trace out the fibers of a sphere. And you can see how it rotates and it makes the fibers. And on the right side you can see the flattened version, how it looks like it's coming through the center and back and stuff. And now we're gonna do the thing in 4D with a hemisphere. So here's a hemisphere rotating through 4D, tracing out fibers. This hemisphere is rotated using a double rotation. You can see like one of the exchanges we're doing here is from Z to Y, and the other one we're doing here is like from X to W. And the fibers that did traces are actually all of the same length and cover the whole hypersphere. These are the fibers of the Hopf fibration. So we could end the video here. We're done, right? No, we're not. We have more interesting things to do. Let's go back to 3D, and now we're just gonna rotate the whole circle. I just like how it looks more than just rotating a half circle. Now we move to 4D, and we can rotate the sphere. We can like rotate the whole sphere in the 4th dimension like this, and I think it looks nicer. It looks nicer in my opinion. Lastly, we're just gonna go crazy. There are some 4D shapes that have a lot of vertices, and the vertices of those shapes lie on these Hopf fibers. These are the vertices of a 600 cell, which is a 4D shape that has like 600. You don't have faces, you have cells. And then here we have 120 cell. Now the fun part. In 3D, let's imagine you're like a flatlander and you're living on a sphere. So you could like look around and see what's happening. Yeah, that's one way you could look around at things. And as we are 3-dimensional, we can look around on the 4D sphere. Here are some fibers of the Hopf fibration in the 4th dimension from like perspective of real living on the 4D sphere. And I think this gives a really good intuition about them. These are the fibers traced out by the vertices of a 600 cell. Now we can move to the fibers of 120 cell. There's a lot more of them. And lastly, just like a lot of fibers that were randomly generated. You can play with these demos on my itch. It's publicly available. I added like 2 demos for Hopf fibration. So if you want to explore these yourself, download link is in description. There's one more thing I kind of lied to you about, and that's the traditional definition of Hopf fibration. And where does it come to this? The normal definition maps like a sphere to the fibers. Here we have like a definition for mapping the points of a hemisphere to fibers. You just do the double rotation and you get the fiber. It traces out the fiber. So you have like hemisphere to fibers. To get the definition of a sphere to Hopf fibers, literally just imagine the hemisphere is made out of rubber and you like stretch it out around the sphere, cover the whole sphere. Come join. Anyone dimension questioning who thinks he was not meant for the 3rd dimension is welcome here. So if you're interested in 4D and other stuff, come join, come check us out. Besides that, subscribe and bye.
Thank you.